G'day, and here we go on another interview with someone who's had a transformation with their rheumatoid arthritis. It's Natalie, and she's going to share with us and me because I have had no preparation for this interview. And you might think, come on, that's not very professional. No, it's because I want to be surprised and excited and be on this journey with you. All I know is that she's had tremendous results. And so with that, let's learn together. Natalie, how are you?
I am doing great. Thank you very much.
Oh, awesome. Well, you heard my introduction. I don't know what's going on. So let's start with the traditional classic, here I am now, or here I was, and then here I am now. Can you give us a snapshot?
Sure. Last year, I took my last Cimzia injections on September 1st. So I was taking Cimzia, 2 injections every 4 weeks, and I was getting by with it. Side effects weren't really too bad or anything. It was uncomfortable. Sometimes the day after I'd be tired, but it was manageable. But of course, not the life that most people would like to live cost-wise. People generally don't like being on medication. And now, the only medication I take, I don't want to say nothing, but it feels like nothing. Low dose naltrexone, just 2.5 milligrams, daily dental lozenges. And I use Kiran Krishnan's Megaspore probiotics.
Okay, awesome. Now, the $1 million question here, what did you do? Why don't you can answer that either step by step, or if you want to give me the overview, I can then extract the details.
Sure. Do you want me to start with back in 2017 when I was diagnosed, or?
Yeah, whatever feels right for you. Yeah.
Okay. So I was a personal trainer and a fitness class instructor. I taught body pump, cycle classes, had been doing that for a number of years. I used to be someone that weighed 100 pounds more and was very lethargic, discovered fitness, ended up going in that direction and changing my whole life and my career. And I started noticing, wow, I don't feel good after exercise. And I had to exercise. That was my job, right? So like 4 hours, 3 hours after teaching my classes, I would get that delayed onset muscle soreness, which should normally happen 24 to 48 hours after your workout. And I thought, this is weird. I'm getting the flu. So I'm like, okay, I better, take a few days off. Took a few days off, went back to my schedule. Boom, it happens again. Like, this is not normal. This is not the flu. So I called my doctor. She ran some blood tests and said, your anti-nuclear antibodies are up. You need to see a rheumatologist. So made that appointment. She drew a bunch of blood, tried to figure out what was going on. And, we made the follow-up appointment. My partner went with me, and he was very supportive. And so she comes into the room. I'll never forget this day. I think many of your followers, people that might be new to this, they remember this day, right? She looks at me and she grabs my hand and she says, rheumatoid arthritis is a very cruel disease. And I was like, why is she telling me this? Like, what does that have to do with me? And then, but she said in a very kind way, like she's being very empathetic, and then I realized, wait a minute, she's telling me I have RA. Like, what? This is weird, because I, at that point, was not having any joint pain or anything. I was just having the fatigue and the muscle soreness. So for me, it manifested with muscle pain. And then she said, the first plan we're going to do is we're going to start you on a drug called Plaquenil. And I tried that, but then encountered ringing in my ears. The muscle soreness had eased up, and then I started getting identical pain in both my pinkies. And I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. So she said, we need to switch you out, methotrexate. nausea, fatigue. It didn't work well. Again, I started experiencing more issues with joint pain. Things were getting worse. So then we went to Remicade, and that was my first experience with a biologic, and it was working, but I started to gain weight. And I started tracking it. And then I said, this isn't good. And after being on it for a year and a half, I told her, look, I track my food, I work out, this is my job. A lot of people in the fitness industry, they're so self-conscious about appearance because, the people judge, unfortunately, in this world. And I said, I know that it's got to be the drug. So she said, okay, we'll switch you. And then that's how I ended up on the Cimzia, which worked, uncomfortable injections, but less side effects. The extra weight came off, I was able to, and I thought, okay, this is my life now. And last September, long story short, 2020, when 2020 happened, the gym shut down. So I left that job. I still train a little bit on the side. I'm also an intuitive eating counselor, but my primary job is working in a grocery store, actually at Trader Joe's. Lots of movement, lots of using your hands, lots of bending, picking, lifting. And so the activity luckily does help my joints, as you talk about. Movement is so important for managing rheumatoid arthritis. And I have a client and was trying very hard to encourage her to try a different plan, do something different to help herself get back on track. And I said, hey, do you want to do a day of juicing? And I had not really ever done this before. I don't know why I thought it. I was like, let's do a juice day. You pick the cleanse. I'll do it with you to support you. And she was like, okay, we'll do this. So on that day, while I was doing this, like 7 days of different juices, and mind you, I have to say my diet was not the cleanest. I was having pastries in the morning and, of course, but then I'd be like, oh, well, I'm exercising and I'm controlling it that way. I was looking for podcasts and information to listen to keep me on track. And that's how I came across you. And so I was like, this is interesting. What you can possibly go into remission without medication. Wait, what is this? So I helped her through that day. We both did our juicing day. She was like, not such a great fan. I'm like, oh, I need to check this guy out. I need to find out what this Clint Paddison has to say. And that's how I found your program. Started September 9th. And at the same time, added the Megaspore. And because I think you had just had Karen on, or I had seen his recording as well. And that's kind of how I found you and how I started.
Awesome. Okay. So just one question before we move on to the next stage. When you come up with the idea to do the cleanse, were you in any pain? Was this almost just an exploratory thing, or were you still having some symptoms whilst on Cimzia?
I was still having symptoms on Cimzia. The flare that would get triggered by not sleeping well, anxiety, overdoing it. They were more frequent and more frequent than they are now. And absolutely. I mean, it was a doable life, but it was manageable.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Now, what happened? So just for newbies, if you're just new to these interviews that we do, so the Paddison program is an elimination plant-based diet as a dietary process, but then with a whole bunch of supporting processes, including exercise, mindfulness, stress reduction, some supplementation to improve the antioxidant status of the body, exposure to nature, a whole bunch of sort of important science-supported strategies to reduce inflammation. When I say science supported, published medical evidence in peer reviewed journals supporting the aspects that we implement together as a 360-degree approach. So this isn't for someone who just, wants to just like kick tires. This is for someone who says, you know what? I want to take responsibility for as much as I can with my health, and I'm going to go hardcore based on stuff that's proven to work. That's what we do. So you've begun the program. So you're on a do-it-yourself plan. And what happened?
So I love the way your program was outlined. Very easy to follow. I was like, all right, let's do this. Cucumber, celery, buckwheat. Where do I find this? I've never had this before, and I thought rice cooker. Okay. Instant pot. Maybe that will work too. So, all the things that you recommend. And within days, not only was I feeling better, but the phantom rash on my legs started to clear up. The, IBS started calming down. I started reading everything I could on microbiome and how your gut affects autoimmune disease and the connection. And so I began with your program on September 9th. As sometimes things happen in life, the best laid plans can, not always work out. So at the end of September, I got COVID, and it was when everybody was getting it, right? Now, I had not stepped off of my medication yet for rheumatoid arthritis. Before starting your program, I did contact my doctor to ask her, what do you think if I do this? And she said, the best diet is farm to table. And just kind of, poo-pooed it, and it's fluffy or whatever. But I thought, no, I'm going to give it a try. I know this is science-based. And when I got diagnosed with the COVID, contacted my rheumatologist, and she said, you cannot get your next Cimzia injection because that's going to push your immune system down. You have to wait until you're over the COVID, and then you have to get a blood test and make sure everything's cleared. So the beginning of October comes when I should have had, actually the end of September, when I should have had my next Cimzia. I couldn't get it. Had to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Got the blood test, follow up with her at the end of October, and I'm like, my joints aren't hurting. Do I need the Cimzia? And she said, how about we just wait until the beginning of November? And I was like, okay. And so then I waited a few more weeks, and I thought, why should I take a medication if I'm feeling okay? So contacted her again and said, I don't know if I want to take it. And she said, well, can we just finish through get you through the holidays, because the holidays are stressful. Then we can talk about you coming off in January.
So she wanted you to resume it and then to stop it again.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she was afraid that you don't have the self-discipline to eat insane amounts of turkey and junk and Halloween candy, and then at Christmas time indulge to the point of falling asleep on the couch at 4:00 in the afternoon, because humans have no ability to self-control. That's what she was suggesting.
Yes. That's a fantastic way to put it. Yes.
My gosh. My faith in humanity, by the way, is vastly different.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, this is so fascinating. Okay. So then what did you say when she proposed having drugs to get you through the holiday period?
I agreed. And then 2 days before my injections, I canceled.
Well, when you just said you agreed, I'm like, oh, that's such a twist. That's a twist. I'm excited to hear. And then you canceled. Okay. All right. And then did the world end?
No. I did, I want to make sure people know that's not the preferred way on the Paddison program to get COVID and not be able to take your medicine anymore. Like you step down gradually. but it's just kind of how it worked for me. And here I am, free of so many other drugs too, not even taking allergy medicine anymore. And I live in a part of the country where hay fever is crazy and everyone is around me is complaining about their allergies. And I'm like, wow, like I don't even take over the counter allergy meds anymore. So yeah.
Wow, that is cool. That is cool. So let's just fill in the gaps there because we got to the Christmas turkey and Halloween, and then we're now you don't need allergy meds or some other things. Just fill in the blanks there for us. Did symptoms come back at all? What happened after you cancelled with the doctor? Was she upset or accommodating? Just give us more information.
Sure, absolutely. She was very kind, and she said, "Okay, I'm still going to see you. She's still my rheumatologist. I still go and get my blood checked, and on my last blood test, my C-reactive protein was less than 1, and so, yeah, it was thrilling, and to hear her say, "You are officially in remission." And so I made a promise to myself that at 6 months, I would get a tattoo to remind myself of a few things. I'll be glad to show it to you. It's elephants are my favorite animal. And so I eat with my right hand. And so these are the leaves to remind me, vegan, the elephant catching the leaf as it turns into a heart. This is where I would get the Remicade, the IVs, right? So this is so important to me. And it just reminds me, like, as I reach for the food, I see, what are you reaching for? The consequences if you slip, and you don't want that. So, yeah.
Gosh, Natalie, this is incredible.
And I will say, there's another little twist to this story. I had to get a tooth pulled 3 weeks ago. And it was from a root canal that was missed. They had to go back in and do more roots. Somehow the tooth cracked. And if people don't know it, if you get a cracked tooth, it has to go because it continues to abscess and get infected because the bacteria can get in there. So I had a wonderful endodontist. He was trying to, without antibiotics, get rid of the bacterial infection. But because it kept coming back, he said, this is a sign that you have an abscess. So the scary thing about having a tooth pulled is you have to have antibiotics if there is an active infection going on. And this is going to be my first course of antibiotics since beginning your program. Scared, more scared of the antibiotics than having the tooth extracted. And they put me on the dreaded clindamycin. And my gastroenterologist, who is the one that started me on the low dose naltrexone, who also prescribes the Megaspore Biotics. I talked with her and she said, this is what I want you to take from, to help your microbiome and it's one of the products that Kieran designed. I think it was the Restore Flora. She said, I want you to take it like this with the antibiotic and it should help. And it did for the first time in my life. And of course, with the clean diet, of course, that's the foundation, right? Is making sure that I'm having the correct diet, following your program, and then adding the supplement. Did not have any stomach upset. Did not have any of the other problems I would have when I took an antibiotic. After I went off of it a few days later, had an accident at work and ended up going through some stress. And I had my first flare since beginning your program. And I panicked and I almost contacted you and said, I can't do the interview. I had a flare. And I realized, no. What do you do? Cucumber, celery, all the buckwheat, clean, start over, and it lasted 36, maybe 48 hours. And I was so happy at the end of it all because it was a great proof to show myself things can happen, and we can just pile on and pile on and pile on, and you may have a flare, but you can come out of it again without the use of medication. I mean, sometimes we have to have that, right, to calm inflammation down. But I was able to get it back on track just by, going back through from, looking back on how it works when we're having that situation.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. It's interesting with all the confidence that you'd had over a period of several months where you had things under control. And it just goes to show that one little sort of that one, almost like the hair on the back of the monster. You just see the hair and it's so scary. You haven't even seen the face of the beast, but you're like, ah. so it's interesting that it can be so concerning. I understand completely, and I'm sure everyone can understand completely that just the sense that something's worsening again or coming back it's like life threatening almost, like, because you just project immediately into, oh no, what does this mean? What does this mean? It means talking to the rheumatologist. It means means it means bad future. It means pain. It means bad sleep. All of that. And so when we see the hair on the back of the beast, we go into concern quickly. But well done, quickly cutting it off at the roots, doing what you did. And that's what I call the complete confidence and control that we're looking for. It's not a cure. What it is having this ability to be the puppeteer and to control your own symptoms. And if the little puppet falls off the front of the stage, you're bringing back on with the string, So that's
Yes.
what you were able to demonstrate.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I know how bad it can be. I was very lucky that I never had as severe symptoms as what you went through. I've not had to have surgery over it. I've certainly had, that getting out of, like, dreading to put your feet on the floor, not being able to open things, so much fear around my job, being able to pick up a weight or lift a weight or move, and the fear of it progressing and getting worse. But I'm just, I'm thankful that this program exists, and I can manage feeling these, like, oh, here it comes, and then, oh no, like, it's going to be okay.
Okay, cool. Some ways to also reduce the feeling of it's just below the surface so that it drops further and deeper and away out of sort of a conscious awareness to almost a subconscious, like, suppression almost. So it's not constantly running through your mind. Is it close by? Is to become as diverse in the diet as possible. So we have those different phases of which were updated since you started in September of last year. You'll have noticed that in the members area, we've got some updated versions of the reintroduction guide, the daily plan, and some few other things. Now, what you want to do is, if you haven't already, and you can tell me, to be able to be eating right through into the Group C food range. And so the bulk of the diet is early through Group A, Group B. That's where we eat most of the time. But also there's some foods in Group C that we do want to be eating. We want to be eating nuts and seeds. We want to be eating fermented foods, and we want to get to those. And so where are you with regards to your food diversity and covering that full portion of that document?
I I'm loving all the foods. Like, my typical breakfast, and by the way, I laugh. I have to make a little side note of people saying now you need to have like 30 different plants in a week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 60 different plants in a day.
What? Wow. Okay. Yeah.
But I start with a mix of steel cut oats, and then the other kind of oatmeal, and sometimes some amaranth mixed in there as well. And then with that, I put in shredded carrots, shredded zucchini, and shredded squash. And then all the berries, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, raspberry. That's my breakfast. And then I'll have like 2 walnuts and a cashew and 2 or 3 almonds. And I laugh when people say, don't eat nuts because you're not going to be able to stop. And I'm like, no, I mean, it's a wonderful, tasteful compliment that gets me the healthy fats, that I need, or the walnuts that are so good for us, in a controlled, and I look forward to it. I don't feel restricted.
Yeah, I think these sort of flippant statements like, don't eat too many nuts. If you're worried about weight gain because you have poor healthy habits or poor eating habits on your other 3 meals, then okay, fine. But that's not an issue that we all face in our community because we eat so much fiber that this is just a weight management strategy in and of itself. We don't have to worry about it. So we got all this fiber coming through. Yes, for us, it's important. We want to be eating these nuts and seeds and then these high fat foods once we graduate to them. So I want people, if you're doing the program and you're early on and you're in baseline group A, fine, that's great. That's where a lot of inflammation reduction comes from. But don't stop there. The healing happens as you get, like, the healing doesn't reduce as you go further into the number of foods. There are more benefits to come to reap the rewards of these additional foods, different fibers, more diversity, and so on, just as you've done, Natalie. So fantastic. I can see why you're feeling so good because you're eating all these foods and tolerating them great, which shows a great microbiome.
Thank you. Yeah, I so much appreciate all of the resources that you provided, like Chef AJ, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Goldner, Dr. Klapner. I mean, my lunch is usually a big old smoothie. Kind of listening to Dr. Brooke Goldner, how she's helped people with autoimmune, putting in those three different power greens, the kale, the spinach, the chard, and then frozen banana and whatever different fruit I want to put in there. And then a big sweet potato. And I don't know if you have access to any of the Japanese sweet potatoes, but my favorite thing to do is to boil a pot of them and put them in the refrigerator for the week. And then you can just pull one out and eat it cold or warm it up in the microwave. But I'm just like eating it like an apple and drinking this smoothie. And it's the best. Like, it's so delicious. And I know it's so good for my gut. And then dinner, almost always, it's going to be buckwheat and quinoa as the base. More so coming off of this last flare. That's not what I have every night, but I would say 5 nights a week because it's super easy to make ahead of time to take to work for my evening meal, because I work in the evenings. And then I can just mix it up by putting different spices or different sauces, different kinds of vegetables. Sweet potato usually is in there as well. But then you can really mix up the flavors by just what you top it with. And it's so easy and it's so good. And oh my gosh, the freedom of like not counting for anybody that has to count calories or track macros or anything. If I'm hungry, I eat. And there's so many delicious, wonderful things to choose from. I'm like, wow. People will say, oh, wow, how can you do that? How can you be vegan? And when you're on the other side, when you fully embraced it, it's kind of like, how can you not? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, for so many reasons, and not just the foods as we get into it, with the health. Like, so, our community is all about health because when you've lost it, nothing's more important. And then those people, also, a lot of people also have an environmental or an animal rights argument, which are just as strong and just as wonderful. But yes, if only we all focus on the health aspects, then you can become very passionate about it because you don't know unless you've been through the gates of hell with this disease, and lived a life that we feel we could do more with, and make the changes. And this is our our trophy. Our trophy is celebrating amazing foods and feeling better and not having the brain fog and not having the allergy response and all that. Tell us what else has improved. Then I want to hear your sort of top 4 or 5 tips for other people. And then I'm going to ask you, what does it feel like now? Not just like airy fairy, but like how do you think now without sort of being consumed by a heavy disease state? What are your dreams, goals, aspiration? What does life look like for you now? But let's start with, first of all, um, the first question, and I've confused myself.
I knew that too. Well, I want to say, just comment really quickly on what you said too about when we're eating for our health. When I had that accident at work and they sent me to the clinic, the doctor I saw, I did say to her, I'm vegan. And she said, "Oh, that's very difficult." And I looked at her and I said, "Pain is a great motivator." And that was pretty much all I had to say.
Yep. Slam dunk.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us, well, let's go into your most important list here.
My most important, what was that?
Yeah, it's like you're sitting next to someone on an airplane. They're about to get off the airplane. They turn to you and say, "Natalie, it's been great chatting with you about work and all that sort of stuff. Like, I haven't told you I've got rheumatoid." And then they say, "You can get off the plane now." What would be, and this is not a promotion for our program. Let's go deeper than that. What are the main aspects of lifestyle that you would convey to that person?
It's almost like you forget you have rheumatoid arthritis. It's a whole new lease on life. I don't know if you've encountered other clients that maybe they get the diagnosis and they start looking at lifespan and what will happen to them in the future, and my rheumatologist is like, "Now you have to see a cardiologist, now you have to see this eye doctor." Now all of a sudden I've got like all these specialists I didn't have before, and it's quite scary to think this is what your life is going to be, and then to have this other lease on life now that, wow, like it's almost like I want to say I'm cured, but I know I'm not. I know it's remission, but I'm now planning on going, living a long, healthy, active life, not worrying about making plans that, I need to have a shower with a seat in it. The doors need to be wide enough for a wheelchair. The preoccupation that sometimes people can have when they have a debilitating condition, just knowing that does not have to be a part of my future. That's so freeing.
Yeah, wow, that's powerful, isn't it? That's really powerful. And what about some tips for other people who are not yet had results you've had, or they are thinking about starting the program? What aspects of what you're doing do you think are the most valuable to you to maintain your health?
Um, I I did research before I started the program, and then when I started it, I told myself, it's probably not going to be easy. I believe I heard you and other people say it takes a few weeks for your taste buds to acclimate, for cravings to pass, for because our gut craves what we eat. And I knew I was going to have to be patient with my body, so I would always say, "I'm going to do this for now." It was never like I have to do this forever, because if I felt a lot of discomfort, I didn't want that to discourage me, because I had been watching your podcast, going on your YouTube channel, and then after getting your program, looking at the conference and listening to people's testimonials and knowing that it works for people. I didn't want to lose the opportunity for the program to work for me by getting impatient, or even if I fell off the wagon, which I knew was a possibility, knowing that I was going to commit to it because I wanted to see, would this work for me? And if I didn't give it a good amount of time, then I would never know. The other thing I do, and I still do it today, is I keep you in my ear and along with Chef AJ. And, when I'm doing my chores, when I'm doing my meal prep, when I am going about driving, I'm listening to all of the good reasons why being vegan and eating this way is the best thing for us, for the planet, for the animals. In the process, I consider myself an ethical vegan now. I look at the dairy industry, everything else, much more different than I used to. And I'm thankful for that. The other thing is, there's one other thing I wanted to share with people other than the food is delicious. Oh, Dr. Clapper, he said it. He said something excellent. When you see something that's not on your plan, you say that's not food. And because I work in a grocery store, in a very good grocery store, I see a lot of tempting things that I would eat before. And when I'm ringing them up or at night after we close and they're like, okay, we're going to try this delicious thing. And, we do have a lot of delicious food. I just say to myself, that's not food. And it really, really, really helps. And it's simple. It keeps me on track. It's a good mantra. And then when it comes to like preparation, it does take longer. Like it's more time consuming to eat this way, absolutely, than it was before. Not that much. Maybe 3 hours a week, 4 hours a week in the kitchen than what I was doing before. So what I did was I looked at how much money I was spending to keep myself in remission using the Cimzia, the injectables, and the doctor's visits. And I did the math, and it was about $7,000 a year. So if I take that and I divide it by the hours that I spend in the kitchen to, make the buckwheat, the quinoa, get all my vegetables shredded, do all of my meal prep, it's like someone's paying me about $22 an hour and I'll take it. Because I would much rather give up that time and not have to take that medication, not have yeah, absolutely, to have this freedom. Oh my gosh, the freedom. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. That's how I think too, breaking down stuff to hourly rates and all that. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. All righty. And just in case anyone's concerned about any anti-medication sentiment, you haven't provided that, Natalie, and nor have I. We've just wanted to share with everyone that if you focus on your health, you in a way that's not conventional, and by that I mean taking full responsibility for all aspects of your life, not just eating less processed foods. This is a full-on transformation program, right? If you do that, then your blood markers improve, your symptoms reduce in most cases, and therefore the doctor is going to appropriately provide treatment plans for you to match your symptoms. And that may mean for you less, or in the case of Natalie, no medication, okay? That's not the goal. It's not what we're targeting. It's an outcome of better health. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that. And Natalie, this has been amazing. So what do you do on exercise? I just wanted to ask you this: has exercise been a strategy for you that we haven't touched upon, or have you done all this just with the everything but exercise?
I still I'm very fortunate because I was a trainer before I developed the disease. So I still do a lot of the exercise I was doing before, but I do a little bit less. Body Pump is a program that I taught. It's a 1-hour weight resistance program, and there's a lot of reps involved. So I cut that down to about 45 minutes. I do 1 or 2 days of strength training in the gym, but I focus more on the pulls than the pushes, more on how to keep the joints safe, I need to do the Bikram yoga. You've talked about that, so I need to explore that. But I'm pretty good about stretching after working out again because of my education in that area. I I have an elliptical at home. I'm very fortunate. I had someone gift me an elliptical, so I have that at home in my little gym room with a TV, and so I do that. I do. I have a stationary bike, and I'll spin on that. I do about 6 days, 1 day off, and then my job is on my feet the whole time and moving. And movement is so important when you have rheumatoid arthritis. When my doctor diagnosed me, I said, I'm a trainer. She said, oh, that's good. And I was like, no, wait, no, I'm a trainer. Like this, I can't have a disease that's going to affect my joints. And then again, to the eye doctor, to the cardiologist, each person would say, oh, you're a trainer. Oh, that's great. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't have anything that's going to affect my body. But now I do understand because exercise is so important for your gut, for your joints, for your mental health, your well-being, and doing it safely, making sure that I don't overdo it, because I do sometimes wonder if the amount of exercise I was doing did contribute to the onset of rheumatoid arthritis, because I was really into it, and even too much of that can be a bad thing.
Yeah, and so in statistical terms, it's called a U-shaped curve. You may have come across this. So your symptoms will go down as you exercise more, but then you get to a beautiful bottom of the U shape. But then if you exercise excessively, and then we're talking about ultra endurance marathons and people who are doing really high level exertion competition, many hours and stuff, then oxidative stress actually comes back up again, because the body just doesn't have that recovery period to adapt. And so, um, what you're, so yes, I believe that potentially that wasn't helping you in your ability to avoid the onset of the condition. But I wouldn't, if it was a ranking system, I wouldn't point the finger towards that as much as some pastries for breakfast and maybe some other things, of course. Now, with regards to what you just said, I want everyone to pay really close attention to this. So Natalie has just told us, she's just told us in very casual, like, oh yeah, that's all I do kind of phrasing, but she's told us she's working out hard. Okay, so we got cycling during the week, 2 resistance training workout sessions where she's doing physical body exercises, back exercises, and all sorts of things. And you're doing a lot of exercise, like way more than the average rheumatoid arthritis patient. And therefore, this has dramatically helped you with your ability to get to where you are now. I'm really glad we went into that, because I actually am yet to interview someone who only used diet. It's not a diet, it is a lifestyle transformation. So I'm really glad, because you were almost the first. And nope, you're actually fit and strong as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's and I think if finding the exercise that brings you joy is really important. If you try something and you don't like it, you're less likely to do it. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, it's super important that you do find an exercise you like, and you find a way to make the resistance training fun, whether it's with a partner or a trainer or in a class, or listening to a book, or whatever you need to do to make sure that you get that in. And then also do the fun stuff, if it's cycling or hiking. Or I know some people do this rucking now, where they put like weight in a backpack and walk around with that. I thought, oh, I need to give that a little try. Although pretty soon it's going to get hot here, so that might not be. I don't know though. Maybe it would be still fun. But yeah, exercise, whew, so important. And it when you find the kind that you like, you look forward to it. At least I do. And being able to not have that taken away from me. Oh, Clint, was I so worried that I wasn't going to be able to do something that brought me joy. It was, I was like, how am I going to mentally deal with this? Because when you find a movement you love, it's an antidepressant. And then the thought of, I can't do it, if it's taken away from me, how am I going to handle the mental part of that? So, so nice that I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was one of your big whys. Why you have to apply yourself so fully is because you want to be able to exercise still. So whatever everyone's why is, really lean into that when you're having to wash the juicer again, or if it's having to, skip on the pizza that everyone's ordered on a Friday night. You know, yeah, that sucks. Okay. We are very much aware of that. We smell the way that it's made. Oh, it smells good. But, what's the why? Why are we wanting to get well? And if we have that really at the front of our mind, we can achieve anything and make that why just so desirable. Even with the children, we do this all the time. They want something. I say, okay, right. If you achieve that, then you can have, and I always insert one of 50 things they're always begging me for. And then they make it happen.
Yeah. 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 You're why. Why. That's very important for
Yeah.
sure. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah. All right, let's leave it there, Natalie. I really value your story today, and you know, it's just so reassuring to have you tell this story for people who maybe, you know, just need that little bit of a boost, another good story. It might take someone 50 stories like this before they're willing to make that commitment to change their lifestyle habits. Or it might be just your story today. Your story could be the conversation that someone needed to say, you know what, I can make the changes that I need. So thank you. It's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you, especially for your program and, for taking something that happened in your life and turning it around and helping so many people because, yeah, it's wonderful that you do this and that you provide this service for so many people. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Natalie. That's really kind. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you again soon, everyone. Thanks for watching or listening to this episode. If you like it, we got more to come, and have a wonderful day.